Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome to the Healing Generations podcast. My name is Alejandro Berensosuna, and I will be one of your co-hosts today. You are currently tuning into the youth-led portion of the Healing Generations podcast, where today we will dive deep into the healing journey and story of our very own Evelyn. I am joined today with my co-host Ariel Jimenez, and I will be passing the palabra to him.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listeners. No matter what day or what time of the day you're listening to us, we just want to say welcome. Today, as AB said, we're going to have our very own Evelyn on here with us, and we're excited. Normally, I would go ahead and read the bio of our guest, but I don't think any words would actually do it justice to the person that she is. So let's just go ahead and get started. Evelyn, welcome. You know, our tradition is always to start with a little conocimiento. So if you don't mind just telling the listeners, who is Evelyn and who is it that you represent? Who is it that you belong to?
Thank you, guys. I'm really excited to be here. Very excited to be alongside of you. Alejandro, we haven't met yet, but I hope to meet you in person soon. And Ariel, we got to spend some time together not too long ago. So that was really nice. And I'm just overall really excited to be on this podcast, to be your guest today. And a little bit about me. My name is Evelyn Sarai Arciniega. I am located in Cutler, California, so Central Valley area, really close to Fresno, like 30, 40 minutes away, really, really small town. I'm just turned 26 yesterday, so it's a huge blessing, feeling really blessed for another year of life and breath. I am Mexicana, born in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, and raised here in Central Valley and been living here my entire life, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I think I took it for granted when I was younger, but now I love being here in the valley, surrounded by agriculture and by a lot of my own people, mi gente. So I am a musician. I play the accordion. I come from a family of musicians, which is a huge blessing. It's something that I'm always very thankful for, having the ability to play music and heal in that way. I'm married. I've been married for a little bit over a year, which is still so weird to say because sometimes I feel like I'm still 15 years old, but very blessed to have an amazing partner by my side. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I work for National Compadres Network. I am the Amayeli Youth Development Specialist. So I work in the Women and Girls Department, which is great. I love it. I love what I do. I love working with youth and with young women, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But that's a little bit about me. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I'll pass it back to you guys.
That was perfect. Thank you. Well, happy late birthday. I wish Ariel had told me ahead of time. I would have came in singing, because I have a lovely voice, just so you know. I won't prove it to you. That's for another time. But a musician, that's really cool to hear. I've been doing percussion for like most of my life, so I've always found music is the best way of healing for me, whether it's listening to it, playing to it, feeling that steady rhythm. It really just like does something, So, I mean, our next question for you dives deeper into that in the sense of what is it about music that you consider healing? Like, how has it helped you along your healing journey?
Man, I would say it's been a part of my healing journey since I was a baby or even before that, because I didn't realize it was healing. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know what healing was when I was little. That wasn't like, I wasn't aware of that. So like I said, I come from a family of musicians from generations and from both sides of my parents. So my mom's family, they're all musicians, from like her mom and her dad, their family. And then my dad, his family's musicians, his mom, they're musicians. So it's in my blood. It's something that I couldn't really avoid. It was just there in me. It's in my blood. It's in my roots. It's something that kind of just got passed on through generations. And a pattern that I saw with music was it was everyone's go-to therapy. I didn't really realize it when I was anxious, when I was mad, when I was stressed, I always ended up either listening to music or playing my accordion or, going into my dad's studio or doing something related to music. And even my dad, I remember watching my dad grow up, going through his healing journey as well. And that was the first thing he would reach, his accordion. And I have like specific images and specific memories in my brain as a kid of seeing my parents like reach for music as therapy, like reach for music when they're like in their lows, but also like at the like best point of their lives. Like it didn't matter if it was something negative that they were going through or if they just had something really good going on in their lives, they always reached for music. And I don't know, I guess I just kept that like going, like that rhythm of reaching towards my instrument, reaching towards music in those moments of my life. So I don't know, like you said, like the beat, like the rhythm, like you feel it in you and it's healing. Like I said, I'm Mexicana. I listen to a lot of música norteña, like cumbias, all that stuff, like corridos. And every time I hear it, it's like healing to me. Like it's just the beat. Like I could literally listen to all these songs like instrumental, like with no voice, with no lyrics, because it's the music, it's the beat, it's each instrument that like it heals me like from like within. Like it just brings me so much joy. So I guess there's so many parts about music that just really bring a lot of healing to me. And I've seen it. Like I've seen it in other people, and I don't know, I could go on and on about music. Like I'm so passionate about it, but
no, that's beautiful. And I think one of the things that you mentioned that I never thought in terms of healing, that you could heal when you're at your lowest, but you could also heal when you're at your highest. So I never thought about healing in terms of a celebration. So, music definitely. And then when you started talking about cumbias, I thought of Saturday mornings with my mom, the Fabulosos, we're doing chores, we're cleaning the dishes. So don't get me a little traumatized now. But no, I definitely love music. I think one of my roommates in college, Miguel Ozuna, was definitely the DJ of our house. He could tell what mood everybody was in and will find a soundtrack to kind of meet us at our rhythm for that day, right? If we needed to get hyped up and we're a little bit more high energy, I knew he was going to go with the EDMs, right? If we needed something a little bit more mellow, he's going to kick into oldies. So I think there's a lot of healing components in music on every level, and it touches almost everybody across the continents, So thank you for that. My question is going to be more in terms of healing. Taking a little step back, you talked about how music can be healing for you, but you also mentioned not knowing that music was healing, right? Some of the components that we have within our own lives are healing, and we don't even know that they're doing that work. So for the people who are not aware of healing, how would you define healing? How would you describe it to them in terms of healing and its importance?
Yeah, no, I would say thinking about that, it's kind of difficult because something I've had to learn and realize from my own healing journey and from seeing other people's healing journey is everyone's is different. There's no specific way, there's no specific guideline to your healing journey. There's not a handbook or a manual, that you follow. It's depending what you're going through, depending like your situation, like your history, your life, like your family background, like depending on what it is, your healing journey is going to look different. And mine is music. That's something I've always really like reached for, my music. That's one of the forms of healing that helped me the most and continues to help me till this day. But, I've seen my husband's healing journey and it's so different to mine. I see my mom's healing journey and it was completely different. And something I had to learn too is it's a challenge. And it's a conversation that I have with my brother a lot, actually, that people make healing look so easy, especially right now on social media. People are like, oh, my healing journey, this, and that. I'm healing, I'm going to therapy. And they make it sound like rainbows and butterflies, right? Yeah. And it's not. It's a struggle. It's a journey. Like, it's a whole story. Like, if everybody would write a book about their healing journey, like, there would be so many books because everyone's story is so different. And I wish people would speak about it more on social media because it's not easy. It's tough. Like, it's worth it in the end, obviously. And it's something like I've seen with my mom. My mom was like my biggest example when it came to healing and starting my healing journey and seeing her heal. Like, I saw how difficult it was and I saw how hard it was for her and having to speak and having to cry. Like, crying is like a big part of healing. Like, it's okay to cry. That's how like you release so much when you're crying and seeing that. But I didn't understand that growing up. And I would be like my mom's like in her healing journey, but it sounds like she's like hurting herself instead of like healing, and yeah, until I had to realize like, no, it's it's a journey. Like you literally, you're going to reach obstacles. You're going to have these moments where you're going to want to give up. You know, it's difficult, but in the end, not just in the end, but once you start seeing like changes in your life and you start seeing better differences in your life. And one thing I could say about healing too is you have to take action. And it's something that was hard for me. And it's still hard for me of taking action and making like changes in your life. And I tell people when they ask me, you know, like about healing and how they can do it, like asking for advice, I always say like, you have to make change. You have to like really put in the work. And one of the things that was hardest for me was cutting negative areas in my life, like negative people, negative habits that I had. And it was the hardest, but without doing those changes and without actually taking action, I wasn't seeing any like improvement in my healing journey. And it was hard, but like I said, it's just everyone's healing journey is different, and you won't know what yours is until you get started. And it's hard to take initiative, you know, to begin your healing journey. But once you begin and you start seeking help or you start working on yourself, that's when you'll know what works for you and what your healing journey is and what your path is.
Thank you for that. I mean, I want to go back to something you said, which was there's no specific guidelines to your healing journey. And I think for me, that was such a weird topic because I grew up in the teachings and, you know, it's not that there's specific guidelines in our teaching. It's just like, I know there's a path we follow. And I knew like, okay, that's how I'm going to go on my healing journey and this and that. And Credo was like, no, you're not. Guess what? You're going to take a completely different path. And it was hard for me because I felt like I was doing it wrong. I wasn't healing the way my dad was healing, or I wasn't healing the way my mom was healing. Like, why was it such a struggle for me? And it took me time to realize like, no, that's your path, dude. You're good. Calm down. Like you're fine.
Yeah.
It's normal. And you know, when we talk about healing specifically in our communities, like I know in San Jose, when I think of healing, I think of the danzantes at like any big event. Like I always think of like City Hall and the danzantes there with their sage and their copal. And again, going back to music, that steady drum beat. And I feel how it's healing our community, or not even our community, but ourselves, each individual person. And so for you, when you see healing in your community, like what are things you look for, things you see that you're like, this is how I know my community is healing bit by bit?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, I grew up doing a lot of community work. My parents have been involved with the community maybe 20 plus years here in the Central Valley. So I've seen the difference in the community from when I was young to now. And there's been so much healing. And I mean, you know, the world's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be issues in society and things going on in your community. But I would say one of the biggest forms of healing I saw was when La Cultura Cura came into the community, and seeing, you know, with Joven Noble and seeing all these teachings getting like integrated into the schools. And I've been able to see it with my mom, you know, with her doing her work and working with the youth, and hearing a lot of her students from when I was young and like hearing their testimonies now, like 10, 15 years later, and hearing how much they've improved and how they still practice those teachings till this day. They don't forget that. Like, you know, there's things I've learned as a kid at school that were like engraved in my brain. And if we start integrating like all of these teachings now and they continue to do it in the school, like I can't imagine what the future generations will be like, you know? But another thing I saw too is, you know, we live in a community of field workers. You know, it's all agriculture here. And everywhere you see like your community, if you have your neighbors, you know, they work in the fields, they're always going to bring you fruit. Like you don't even ask for it, and you open your door and there's fruit in your front yard. And it's you know, that giving, like they just love to give. They love to give to their community and to their neighbors. And we live in such a small community. So everyone, you know, if they work in like the fields or they work in like a packing house, they all know each other, you know, and it's, especially living in a really small community, it becomes like a big family. And just really appreciating like being surrounded from a bunch of like agriculture and people like of your own tierra, you know, your gente, your own blood. work in an area where not only are they feeding like themselves, they're feeding their community, but they're literally producing things and food and vegetables and fruit that like really get spread out to literally the entire world. Like it's, I don't know. I guess I think about that a lot when I eat fruit, when I eat vegetables and stuff like that. Like, wow, like these people, like all their blood, their sweat and tears, like go into picking this fruit and cleaning it and packaging it up, like to literally feed people around the world. And I feel like there's so much healing in that, especially because here, everywhere you look, every corner, it's all you see. You see agriculture. You see, even like my neighborhood, I wake up sometimes like 5, 6 in the morning because my dog, she wants to go out, and I open the door and I hear people already getting ready for work. And that energy that they have in the mornings of like really, I feel like it's so healing, like just being surrounded by all these hardworking people and seeing like the determination they have, not just to do their work and do it right and feed literally the entire world, but to sacar a su familia adelante, you know?
Adelante.
And all those teachings, like the hardworking teachings and like the work ethic, like it gets passed on for generations, and it's amazing. I mean, I could go on and on when it comes to healing in the community, because it's just growing, and it keeps getting better, and it's amazing to see all these kids and all these youth go out and actually do something for their community too. And it's really nice. Like I get really proud when I see someone from my community like make it big. Like when I see them and like they got a really good job or they're out here doing something amazing, like I'm always in the back like rooting them on, you know, because that's your family. Like whether you knew each other or not, like the fact that you're from the same community, you're seeing people like progress and do something good in life, like it's amazing. So I love my community, my little town, my little pueblito. But I'm really excited for what the future holds for this community. And the ones like surrounding me too. The Central Valley is big, but it's full of a bunch of little families, little communities. So there's so much healing here.
Well, I think that needs to be put on a t-shirt. I love my little pueblito, personally. But, you know, it's one of the things that's never lost on me. And I want to thank NCN for always reminding me of this, is how many people really cultivated and prepped the food before it gets to our table, right? We have a couple maestros. Mario always mentions it. Maestro Jerry always mentions it. Maestro Hector always mentions it. The maestras always mentions it. And right before we eat, they always bless up the food and say, we want to thank all of the people that cultivated it, that put their sweat into it, that grew it, that nurtured it, that got it from the fields to the kitchens, from the kitchens to the tables, and from the tables into our body. May they get the nourishment that they need. And when I hear the maestros and maestras say that, I automatically think of all the people at those fields that never take a day off. They never complain. Rain, shine, heat, wet, whatever, they're there at the morning and then until the job gets done. And what you said is 100% true. Pa sacar la familia adelante. So when you were taking us through those stories, those are the people that came into my mind, right? So it just brought me back, and I wanted to mention that. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is also, you talked about community. You talked about your little pueblito, and that to me all correlates to culture, right? When I'm thinking like my cultura, I think of my familia, I think of the music we listen to, the food we eat, all of those beautiful things. So question for you is, one, how do you identify culturally? But also, what are the things about your culture that you love the most? And I know it's hard, you know, to pick one or two because there's so many, right? But how would you answer that? You know, how do you identify culturally, and what is it about your culture that you love the most?
Yeah, well, like I said, soy mexicana. You know, I was born in Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, and I came here at a really young age. I was 5 years old, so I didn't know much. You know, when I came here, I didn't know any English. I had to learn English, a whole different language, a whole new culture. Like, it's a whole different, like, world here. But then I really left everything behind because I was only 5 years old. So those first 5 years of my life, like, think about it. I'm 26. That's a long time here, you know? So only 5 years of my life, that kind of got left over there. And it's like I kind of forgot everything. I was so little, you know, but my parents always told me, like, eres mexicana. Like, be proud of it. Like, be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you come from. So growing up here in the Central Valley, it was really hard because there was a lot of shame in being Mexican and being a Latina. There was a lot of shame of, you know, everyone wanted to fit in. Everyone wanted to be like, oh, like, soy americano. Like, people would say, like, I'm American, you know, like, I'm from here. And there was so much shame in like identifying yourself as who you are and where you come from, right? And it was hard for me when I was little. I wouldn't really talk about my heritage. I would kind of like keep it to myself at a really young age until my parents really were telling me like, no, you need to be proud of who you are, be proud of your roots, be proud of your ancestors and where you come from. So I started being really vocal about, you know, who I am and my culture. And I always told people like, soy mexicana y I'm proud of it. Like, I'm proud to be a Latina. I'm proud to speak 2 languages. Like, that's such a big flex that people do not talk about. And, you know, I was always really like out there, especially in high school, which was hard. I got bullied a lot, you know, I got made fun of a lot because me decían like all these words, like, you know, the hate that we get. And then me decían like, I don't even want to repeat them, you know, but I would get a lot of hate because I was really proud of my culture. And I, once again, tie it back into music, you know, I really represented that through my music and playing the accordion. I mean, that's such a big part of La Cultura Mexicana. So that's what I used, you know, to really express my culture. And it was hard because like I said, I got bullied a lot. I got made fun of. Yeah. And now, like that I'm older, and now that social media is like such a big thing, you see all these people like, oh, like soy mexicana, soy this, soy that. But they're the ones that were like ashamed of it, which there's nothing wrong because it made me happy seeing like a lot of my classmates like eventually be proud of where they were. But then it also like hurt me deep inside because I was like, you used to make fun of me, you know? But it just makes me sad that it takes this long for people to like really identify to their culture. And I have to understand and like sit back and think like not everybody grew up the way I did. I was very blessed and honored to have amazing parents who really implemented that into me when I was really young, of like being proud of who I am, being proud of my culture. And I had to really like think like not everybody has it that way. And I hope that changes. And I know with the power of like social media, the internet nowadays, like it makes a difference and people get inspired to really like embrace who they are, embrace where they come from. And now you hear people say like, oh, yo soy Michoacana, or yo soy like de Jalisco, or, you know, you hear all these things. And I love it. I love to see all that. I love to see like people embrace like how proud they are of where they come from. Even if it's like they're like 3rd, 4th, 5th generation here, like it doesn't matter. Like it's in our blood, right? Like it's who we are. Like, so I don't know. I've always been just really vocal with that. But I would say the thing I love most about my culture, I mean, everything, you know. No,
I was like, no pressure, right? No pressure.
No
you got to pick one.
No. Well, I guess what people don't really talk about is what we don't love about our culture, you know, and that's really breaking all the negative cycles that are passed on like through our culture. And there's so many negatives to our culture too, that as we get older and as we grow and like generations pass by, you either can choose to keep it going, you know, and continue that negative cycle, or you can choose to remove it and make a change in your life. But that's something I always really try to be intentional about removing those negative cycles that were passed on in my culture, you know, and even through my family. And I love like watching TikToks of people will be like, does anyone else's Mexican family do this? And then you start thinking like, did we all grow up in the same household? Like you start hearing all these things. Grandma? Yeah, we all had the same mom. Like we all had the same, like, you know, just like cultura, the same teachings. But I would say my favorite thing about my culture is the love language through food. Like I know it's kind of like basic, like, oh, I love Mexican food, but no, it's not just that. It's like the love that goes behind it. Like seeing, like, for me, my parents are very loving, but for my grandma, that was really hard to show love and affection. And her way of showing that was through food, through cooking. And till this day, I siempre me llama, like she'll call me like, hey, Evelyn, like I made you some burritos. Like, do you want to come pick them up, without me asking? And I could feel the love through that, you know, because I know that's her way of showing it. And when we were planning our wedding, the thing we were most like concerned about was the food, because that's how we show love. Like we want to make sure that our guests are like, they feel loved, they feel welcome through the food. And I don't know, it's just part of our culture. And it's something that I love, because anytime we have people over, anytime I go anywhere, like our first thing, you think about food, right? Or like, who's going to cook, or who's this? And the
Who's bringing
bonding that
what?
you have. Yes, or like learning how to cook from your grandma, learning how to cook from your mom. Like there's so much love behind that. And obviously the food tastes good. It's delicious. I love Mexican food. It's my favorite, but there's just so much healing and teachings behind food, and not just in my cultura and Mexican culture, but in every culture. You know, food is plays such a big role in every single culture. So I would say that's my favorite. It's a little basic, but I mean, it's the one that like really like impacts me, and I just love it. And yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely agree that our food has a lot of power behind it. Going back to something you said that just got me laughing was people now that are becoming prouder of their culture. And it's like, you were just making fun of me in high school, and now all of a sudden I see you doing your eyebrows and your lipstick like how our tias used to do them. And then I just think of, you know, other cultures, like I think of like the spa water, and then like the what is the Mexican street corn salad? Yeah, like I think
and
of
the
that
clean
stuff.
girl era. Like everyone talks about
Yeah.
the clean girl era, but no one talks about the like history behind it and where that comes from. And
I just laugh, and I think it kind of goes into, you know, that dark part about, you know, today's world where it's like everyone wants to love on our culture, love on our foods, but not our actual culture. Like they want our foods, but they don't want our people, which is something big in my city, actually, in Gilroy. We have like a lot of Mexican places, but you walk around and you just see like all these flags that are saying like, I don't like you, but I sure do like tacos. And it's like, dude, like, what do you mean? So that's definitely something that I related to. And, you know, being proud in your culture is something hard, especially if you live in those communities that aren't that accepting of your culture.
yeah.
And, you know, it takes having those people around you to remind you, like, why you need to be proud in your culture, why you need to have that pride no matter what. That, like, really helps you. And, you know, kind of heals you. And I would say, like, those people for me are my parents. They always taught me to be proud of my culture. They sent me to a dual language academy when I was younger. And, you know, even when I went to a predominantly Asian high school, they were always there to remind me, like, don't be ashamed of who you are just because you're the minority. And they really helped me keep my self-identity in that sense and in my healing journey. So my question to you is, in your healing journey or in your journey in general, whether it has to do with self-identity, music, who were those people that walked along with you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I got a whole army behind me, right? I mean, I consider
We do a whole
everyone in
podcast
my
on just
life.
that.
Seriously, no, like I think Val, she works with us, and she had mentioned one time, you know, that she was raised by her mom and a village of women, right? Like she was raised by a group of people, and it's so true. And my parents have played the biggest role, I would say, but I also have so many people behind me who have guided me as well. One of them being my Maestra Deb, and she plays such a big role in my life. And she was one of the people who really walked with me, because she saw me grow up since I was little, since I came here till this day. And so she's been a huge part of my life. Well, and now I have my husband as well, who is now walking with me through this journey. And it's amazing to see him now in his journey as well, and see him making changes in his life and really being intentional about growing and healing, and not only as an individual, but together, like as my spouse, you know, and as a couple. But I would say the person, like if I could name one, it would be my mom. My mom has played such a huge impact in my life, and not just as a mom, but as a role model. And man, I could make a whole podcast just dedicated to my mom, because she's really like made such a change in my life. And not just because I'm her daughter, because I've seen the impact that she's made in so many people's lives. I love that woman to death. You know, I wish to be half of the person that she is now. She's una mujer bien poderosa. You know, she's a strong woman. She's independent. She's insanely smart. She's so loving. And because of her, I am where I am right now. You know, all the sacrifices that she has made since I was young till this day, and all the teachings that she's implemented in me, you know, and she's always showed me love, nothing but love. And it's something I had to learn to identify when I was young, because, you know, like I had very strict parents, very strict when I was growing up. And in the moment, I didn't realize why. I would just be like, why are you guys so strict? Like, why don't you let me do this, do that? Like, let me go hang out with my friends. Until later, I realized, like, wow, they were just trying to protect me. Like, they knew what they were doing, and my mom showed her love in those ways a lot of just protecting me and giving me advice that I never knew would like help me in the future. And I still remember a lot of her advice from when I was young to now. And I take it, and every time she tells me anything or she gives me any words or any consejos, like I really take it in. And it's hard, don't get me wrong, especially because I'm like so stubborn. Like, yo soy bien terca. Like, I'm like, no, I got this, but sometimes I have to sit back and reflect and think, like, no, like, her words have so much wisdom. Like, she has so much wisdom in everything she says. I know she's saying it with the intentions that she wants the best for me, So my mom has literally been at my side since I was young. And I would say even before I was born, because that's when she started healing. And she wasn't just healing for herself. She was healing for her kids in the future, And till this day, she stands by me and my brother, and she makes sure that we're okay. And she's just a great woman, and she's definitely been like my pillar, like literally like the leader of like just everything. Like I follow that woman wherever she goes, and like I said, I just hope to be half of the person that she is now. She's amazing. I love her.
No, I agree, man. Moms are powerful. They got that special magic that no one else has. I feel like they just like unleash one day when they get older. Like as soon as you have a baby, you're just like a superhero magically. It happens. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. She'll be having the answers to everything. Mom, I can't find this. And we turn around where you just looked and it's right there all of a sudden. Now that she's getting up to look for it. No, yeah. I mean, I fully agree with you. My mom has definitely had that healing magic for me no matter what. Moms are powerful. All the props to all the moms out there, single moms, even moms who have that partner to help them through it. But my next question for you, that Ariel literally just texted me, I'm gonna steal from you, so I'm saying it so he can't steal it from me. It's one of my favorite questions to ask, and just hearing your prior answers, I know you're going to have a really good answer to it, is if you had a stage and a microphone, what is one issue that you would like to lift up?
Oh man. I'm very, like I said, I'm a very vocal person. I'm very I like to advocate for people. Like, I'm the type where like, if there's something going on in the world, like I'm blasting it on social media, like I'm like speaking up, like especially when it comes to my people, like when it comes to my culture, and I would say spreading love, and that there's no color in culture, there's no division, and it's all through love. Love is culture, and culture is love, and that's something that I would say I'm pretty passionate about, and that's something that my husband and I actually like implement a lot into our lives, and we're actually starting a new project soon that focuses on that, of being really intentional about showing our love through our culture, but also like equality, like we're all people, we all have different cultures, different teachings, but we're all love. We're going to spread our culture and we're going to spread our teachings through love. And he's a gringo, he's a white boy and with German descent, but he has so much passion for the Mexican culture, and he is so intentional about learning Spanish and learning these teachings to help me, and to connect with me. And I love that about him. And it's made me think like, oh my gosh, like he has so much passion for this culture that, I mean, his culture is like completely different, but he shows so much love to me through that, like through my culture and through learning all of these teachings. And I love that. And, people tell him a lot of stuff like, you're not Mexican. Like, why are you acting like that? Like, act your own race. They tell him all these things. And it truly, it hurts us when we hear that, because there's no color in culture. There isn't. Like, it's all love. We want to spread love, and we're very active on social media, and our goal is to spread love. And that's all we do. We, every time if we see people like that they know us from like our videos and stuff, we always make sure to give them a hug and talk to them and tell them thank you for supporting us, or just spreading that love, and he's now getting involved in music too. So we're always very vocal, like about like him embracing like my culture. And I mean, I learned to embrace his as well. Like I learned how to make shepherd's pie. Like I had no idea what that was, you know, like, but it's just like loving ourselves through that, right? Through learning each other's cultures. And if there could be like more of that in the world, like of people just having love for other people's teachings and, you know, not making fun of people like because of their teachings or like our language, like people not making fun of our language or how we dress, how we look, certain things that have been like passed on for generations or AB, like you said too, how people, they're like the spa water and like the street corn salad, like things like that. Like instead of taking ownership of that and like taking credit of it, like embrace it, like show love to the community, show love to other people's culture. And yeah, I guess that's something that I've always been passionate about. And it's something, like I said, I'm working on a project for that and I'm very excited to present it to you guys like later, like once it all like unravels. But that's what it's based on, you know. The title of it is actually Love y Cultura. And that's what it's all about. It's about spreading love and through our culture and through our teaching. So that's something that it sits heavy on me. Like I always just try to show love like with my culture and with the things that I have, like my talents, you know. I'm not gonna just not use my talent. Like the creator gave me a talent of music and I'm gonna use it. And that music is tied to my culture. And I'm gonna use it to spread love and to spread kindness. And what else can you use it for, right? Than to really outreach to people and help people heal with the one thing that has helped me heal the most. So,
you know, I do want to take a moment and just lift up your partner. You know, Isaac, I got an opportunity to be in circle with them, to be in training with them. And I looked at him and he was a 6 foot, you know, German person and rocking a Chivas jersey. And there was just so much confusion in my mind. But I was like, you know what? I was born in Jalisco, you know, arriba las Chivas. That's my team as well. And he just came into the space in such a humble way, such a respectful way, and in a way eager to connect. And those are things like when you say truly people are here to love on the culture and not to appropriate it, but to genuinely love on the culture in a respectful way. He is who I think about right now. Because he wasn't trying to monetize off of it. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. He was literally coming into a space saying, I need these for my own healing. And I'm also married to a person that has welcomed me into their home, that has made me feel accepted, and that has made me love all of the parts that even I was confused about. So the way that he entered into that space to me was just very respectful. And I just wanted to lift him up. I know he's connected to you. I know he's married to you. And I know part of just even how he carries himself is in connection with you. So I just wanted to lift him up for a second. You know, the second thing. Yeah, you're welcome. The second thing too is you talked about how you've been blessed with, you know, benefiting from generational blessings, specifically of music. And wanting to pass that on to the next generation. And even the project that you want to work on is for that next generation. So if you had advice for that next generation coming up, or even 7 generations from now, what advice would you want to make sure that they listen to and that they connect to?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, you know, and the pressure in that of like, you know, like what you want to say to the next generation. Because, oh man, like, there's so much, but you also want to say the right thing. You know, you don't want to say the wrong thing. But something I mentioned earlier when I talked about my healing journey is really being intentional about the people I surround myself with. And the power of positive influences makes such an impact in one's life and in one's future. And it's something my husband and I are being very intentional about, is surrounding ourselves with positive influences and people who will serve us in a good way and have the correct intentions for us, that they're not just here, you know, like for clout or just to use you or like, you know, we want people who truly want the best for us and they're just there with great intentions and people that you can learn from too. You know, I have amazing friends that the Creator has blessed me with who have become family and who I've learned so much from. And they have made such an impact in my life, but they've also played such a huge role in how my healing journey has gone and how my healing journey has progressed. Because don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. You know, there's been times where I've surrounded myself with people who just did not serve me. And I saw a decline in my healing journey in that moment of my life. And if I could have a one-on-one with someone like from the next generation, I would tell them, be intentional about who you surround yourselves with. Like, it's hard, especially when you're young, because you want to be cool and you want to hang out with the cool kids and, you know, you want to do whatever's trending. But the regret you're going to have in the future, like, it's going to haunt you, you know, it's going to be hard to really like overcome that. But if you start young at a young age to work on your healing and surround yourself by good people and people who have good intentions. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be times where you thought you were hanging out with the right crowd and eventually you found out they weren't, but that's okay. That's part of healing. That's part of learning and it's part of growing up. But I mean, I would say start healing as soon as you can. And I know not everybody knows about healing. I know not everybody gets the opportunity to grow and to heal. But one thing I was blessed with is to be able to have learned these teachings at a young age, you know, because even my mom, or I hear other people say, like, I wish I had these teachings at your age. I wish I would have started my healing journey at the age that you're at now. So it's something I don't take for granted. And it's something I would tell other people, you know, the next generation, surround yourself with positive people, begin your healing journey. Don't be afraid. And if we start healing young, I can't imagine how our lives would be. You know, there'd be a lot easier than our ancestors' lives and our parents' lives. And I guess that's what I would say. I mean, there's so much, you know, there's so much you would want to tell the next generation, but also like the younger us. Like, I wish I could go back and like tell myself like, no, like don't do that or do this. But you know, it's part of learning, it's part of growing, and it's part of our healing journey. And like I said, healing is not perfect. It's hard. So I'm like, the younger, the better, you know, the younger you start learning, the better it'll be in the future.
I swear, man, I think we have the same moms, the same grandmas, the same community. You know, my mom would always say, dime con quién andas, te digo quién eres.
Yep.
And that's the conversation that I wish I could have with the younger me, right? So I'm never going to tell my mom that she was right, even though she knows it and I love her. But, you know, that's the advice that I would give myself as well. And even my mom tells me that to this day, you know, si yo tuviera tu juventud, the things I would know. Right. So I think you just, you know, you hit it on the head with the conversations that I've been having with my mom recently. So I definitely appreciate that. And I also just want to appreciate you for being willing to be open, share your story, share your partner, your family, your music, all of those beautiful things that make you, to sharing it not only with us, but also with all of our listeners. So I do just want to take a moment and just say thank you. And also, you know, just take a moment to offer opportunity for any closing remarks. You know, we're approaching the end of our podcast and you shared a lot of beautiful things, but is there any last things that you want to share with our listeners or share with us? Yeah,
no, I mean, actually, thank you, you know, for allowing me to be in the space, for allowing me to share. I try to be pretty open, you know, about my healing journey and about my life, but it's hard sometimes. It's hard to be vulnerable. And thank you guys for allowing me to be here, for allowing me to really be vulnerable and speak about these things, about my life, and for allowing me to bring my family into the space and my partner and my culture, my teachings, like everything that I have. Thank you guys for that. And, you know, I'm just really blessed to share space with you guys and to share space with everyone in NCN. You know, working for this organization is a huge blessing and something I always say, but my family, they're always telling me like, don't take it for granted. Like, you're surrounded by amazing people. You're surrounded by people who have so much wisdom, and you're going to take that all in, you know, take it all in, take in all those teachings, take in all the advice that they give you. And like being able to spend time with Maestro Jerry, like is the biggest blessing. Like just being in circle with him or just being in his presence, like ever, is just amazing. Like, he is such a wonderful person, and all that knowledge he has, all that wisdom he has is a blessing. So just being able to work with this community of such amazing people and people who have so many amazing stories is, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I work here because, you know, sometimes something I've said, I think in the first podcast I did, was how it was a dream of mine to work for NCN or to somehow be connected to you guys. So just being here it's kind of mind blowing. I'm not going to lie. Like, sometimes I'm like, wow, like, I'm so fortunate to be here. I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by everyone. So, and AB, I got to meet your dad for the first time in person too, not too long ago. And that was amazing. You know, he was able to give me some uplifting words too. And just being in his presence was amazing. So thank you guys. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I hope to connect with you guys more and come back so I can announce my project.
Yes, we gonna do a mic drop on that project. Just know that.
No, yeah, I'm really excited to, to use all these teachings that I've learned here and I've learned in this community to grow and to spread that love into my community and into the world. And I hope to be here and to stay connected, for as long as I can, for as long as the Creator allows me to. But thank you. I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think you summed it up too with being in person with NCN. I think if I could take the stories from Maestro Jerry, the wisdom from Maestro Jaime, the laughter from Maestra Deb, and finish it off with the hug from Tia Susie, that's all I need in life right there. But no, thank you. Passing it over, the palabra to AB. Any closing remarks for us?
Man, I just want to say a really big thank you. I know at times may not look like I'm paying attention, but I'm drawing to make sure that I'm like taking in your words fully and like taking notes. And I just have I've never taken this many notes during a podcast of just like sentences that I want to remember for myself when it comes to my healing journey. And I think it kind of connects back to Circle. It's like, we're not the teachers, we're also the students. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not just here to interview, I'm here to really take in what you're saying. So I want to give you a big thank you for being a part of our podcast. Hopefully we meet soon. You seem like an amazing human being. So I hopefully am going to be on a bit more retreats, a bit more calls with NCN. So hopefully I get to meet you soon in the future. A big thank you to our listeners for always tuning in and, being there with us and riding along this journey, even if it's just for 40 minutes to an hour each time. And a huge thank you to my co-host, Ariel Jimenez. Always a pleasure to do these with you. Thank you.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.